Welcome back to Sip and Talk.
Good to be back.
Okay, so we've definitely heard you. A lot of requests came in, especially it seems from listeners in Taiwan, wanting us to talk about this whole licking the CCP artist thing.
Yeah, that term. It's pretty loaded, isn't it? 天罡一人. It's clearly derogatory.
Right. It points to public figures, celebrities, influencers who seem to go out of their way to praise China, align with Beijing's official lines, and sometimes, actively put down Taiwan in the process.
And it's not just singers or actors, right? We're hearing about internet personalities, too, like that figure Kuana getting drawn into similar dynamics, though maybe from a different angle. It's all blown up recently.
It really has.
Yeah.
So our plan today is to kind of unpack this, look at the bigger picture, the context, try to understand, what's really going on here? What are the different layers? Who gets affected? And crucially, why does this whole phenomenon provoke such a strong rejection, particularly within Taiwan?
Exactly. We're aiming for that objective, maybe more international perspective, stepping back from the immediate heat of it to see the mechanics. We'll look at the economics, which is huge, the politics, the legal side, and why it hits such a raw nerve.
Okay, let's dive in. And you really have to start with the money, don't you? That massive economic imbalance. It's like this giant magnet pulling talent westward.
It's totally the foundation. You've got Taiwan, vibrant democracy, great culture, about 23 million people. But, let's be real. The market size, the budgets for entertainment, they're limited. Competition is tough for the resources available.
And then you look across the strait, mainland China, 1.4 billion people, state-backed cultural industries with, frankly, insane budgets. The scale difference is just staggering. It creates this undeniable pull.
Think about it practically. An actor in Taiwan might do well on a local TV show, earn a decent living. But that same actor, if they break into the mainland market...
Oh, forget about it.
Exactly. We're talking potentially 10 times the salary for a big drama series. Plus, those huge endorsement deals, big international brands wanting that mainland exposure. It's life-changing money.
Yeah.
So if you're an artist looking at your career, your financial future, the pull is almost irresistible. It's why they talk about this westward migration trend in the entertainment world.
It sounds less like a simple choice and more like, an economic imperative for a lot of them. But getting through that door, it's not just about talent, is it? There's this unofficial entry requirement.
Bingo! That's the catch. The huge economic carrot comes with a political stick or maybe a political key. It's not usually written into the contract, not explicitly. But there's this clear understanding, this unspoken rule. You need to publicly signal support for the One China principle, or at least, align yourself with Beijing's narrative about Taiwan. That's the toll you pay for access to the big TV networks, the streaming platforms, the major concerts and events.
And you hear this defense sometimes, right? From the artists themselves or their teams. They say, look, it's just business. It's not what I truly believe. Framing it as just a strategy. A necessary compromise to build a career.
Yeah, that business, not belief line. And you have to acknowledge that perspective, the pressure they feel, but
for the Taiwanese public,
that
argument just doesn't fly.
Not at all. They see it as trading away something fundamental, democratic values, national dignity for personal gain, often massive personal gain. And those statements, they aren't just empty words floating in the ether. Beijing uses them politically.
So that term, "tingang," licking the CCP, it really captures that feeling of deep moral disappointment, betrayal almost. You're not just doing business, you're actively cozying up to an authoritarian power for cash, potentially undermining your own home.
It implies a sort of willing subservience, selling out your roots. And you really can't overestimate how sensitive people in Taiwan are about this. It's not just anecdotal. We've seen polling data from Pew Research.
Oh, what did that show?
It found only about, 32% of Taiwanese have a positive view of China overall. Pretty low.
And it's even lower among younger people, right?
Way lower. For the 18 to 29 group, it drops to just 23% supporting closer political ties. Think about it. This generation grew up entirely in a democratic Taiwan. They have a really distinct sense of identity.
So when these big stars, people they might have grown up admiring, make statements that echo Beijing's claims of ownership.
It feels like a direct attack, a betrayal of that identity, of the political system they value. It goes way beyond just disagreeing on policy. It becomes a kind of moral crisis for them.
Wow. So the economic pull is real, undeniably powerful, but the cost, politically and socially for Taiwan is immense, which leads us right into that big flare-up, that coordinated campaign in 2025, the propaganda storm.
Yeah, this wasn't accidental. It was very deliberate, very synchronized, coming straight from Beijing. It really kicked off around the time of the two sessions, their big political meetings in March 2025. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi made this really high-profile statement.
What exactly did he say? What was the line that lit the fuse?
He was crystal clear. He said something like, Taiwan has never been a country, and it will never be one in the future. The only name for Taiwan is China Taiwan Province. Just a flat-out denial of any separate status. Really forceful.
Okay, so he lays down that marker, and then the state media machine just cranks into gear, right? Turns it into a public test of loyalty online.
Instantly. Right after Wang Yi's comments, you saw the big state media outlets, especially CCTV on platforms like Weibo, they just flooded the zone. They pushed out this specific graphic. The slogan was, China, Taiwan must return. And the key thing, they explicitly told public figures, including Taiwanese artists, to repost it. It wasn't a suggestion.
Mandatory reposting.
Yeah.
And the response from Taiwanese artists, how many actually did it?
It was pretty shocking, the scale of it. Reports indicate over 70 Taiwanese artists went ahead and reposted. And we're talking big names, household names, Ouyang Nana, Patty Hao, Disu, Rainy Yang, Jolin Tsai was mentioned, Chen Cowan. The long list. And it wasn't always just a silent repost either. Some added their own comments, love China, or things implying Taiwan couldn't survive on its own.
So from Taiwan's viewpoint, this isn't just individual celebrities sharing an opinion. This looks like direct cooperation with the CCP's broader strategy, what they call the United Front, or Tongzhan. How does getting celebrities on board help that political goal?
The Tongzhan strategy is all about influence, co-option, neutralizing potential opposition outside China. So when you get 70 famous Taiwanese faces, people seen as cultural figures publicly saying, yeah, we're China, Taiwan province, that's gold for Beijing.
How so? What does it achieve for them?
Several things. First, it gives them instant global propaganda ammo. They can point and say, see, even prominent Taiwanese people agree with us. It muddies the waters internationally. Second, inside Taiwan, it aims to normalize the idea of unification, chip away at that sense of distinct sovereignty. It creates doubt.
Pushing that narrative that everyone across the strait is just one big family, kind of erasing the political differences between authoritarianism and democracy.
Exactly. And it's not just the A-listers anymore. This influence network, it's gotten much more sophisticated. It goes deeper into the digital world, targeting smaller influencers, Wang Hong as they're called, YouTubers, live streamers too.
Okay, why bother with the smaller fish? They don't have that massive global reach like a movie star.
True, but they have something else. Perceived authenticity. And often really dedicated niche audiences, especially younger ones. These smaller influencers might feel more relatable, more trustworthy to their followers.
So they can slip messages in under the radar, maybe to audiences who actively avoid political news, like hiding it in plain sight.
Precisely. Using seemingly harmless content as the delivery mechanism for state narratives.
How are they recruited then? What's the playbook? Is it just money again?
Mostly, yeah. Tailored economic incentives. We're talking about things like lucrative sponsorships, getting flown out for free luxury trips to showcase China's modern cities or beautiful landscapes. Generous funding specifically to create content.
What kind of content?
Content that highlights China's development. Shiny airports, high-speed rail, cool tech. It's all about painting this picture of a modern, efficient, attractive China. Scenery, culture, food, but always with that subtext of progress.
Basically, it's soft power marketing. Part of that great foreign propaganda push, the Douai to shape global perceptions.
That's the strategy, absolutely. Douai is designed to counter negative stories, human rights concerns, political repression by focusing on positive, emotional, modern aspects. And we have concrete examples. That rapper, Chen Poyon, he talked openly about being approached.
What is he saying?
He described offers of serious money to make videos, including tours of places like Xinjiang, framed as beautiful Xinjiang, content clearly designed to whitewash the human rights issues there.
And Potter King, the YouTuber, he also went public about getting similar offers, right? Confirming it wasn't just a one-off, but a systematic thing.
Yes, exactly. It shows this is an organized outreach campaign. And the content they produce, it gets amplified like crazy. One analysis found that videos from just 13 Taiwanese influencers were picked up and shared by something like 156 official Chinese state accounts.
Whoa. How many people did that reach?
The estimate was around 400 million followers. So you see, these aren't just random travel vlogs. The way they're reused and blasted out shows they're seen by Beijing as valuable tools, high-reach channels for getting state-approved messages out.
Okay, when you lay it all out, the economic vice, the loyalty tests, the quiet infiltration online, it really hammers home why Taiwan sees this as a security threat, not just, a spat about celebrities.
Which brings us to the big legal question. Are they actually breaking any laws?
Right, this is where it gets complicated, and the public anger often outpaces the legal reality. The first thing people shout is, "They're spies!" Espionage. And we talked about this. The legal bar for espionage, jiandizui, under Taiwan's National Security Act, is incredibly high.
It's sky high. To actually convict someone of espionage, you need hard proof they gathered, delivered, or passed on state secrets, classified information, or engaged in very specific acts against the state, like sabotage.
So just reposting a slogan from Beijing, even if it feels like a betrayal, that doesn't cut it legally for espionage.
Not even close. There's no secret information involved. So calling them spies reflects the moral outrage, absolutely, but legally. It doesn't hold up based on current actions.
Okay, so espionage is out. Is there any law that might apply here?
There is. It's less dramatic, maybe, but more relevant. It falls under the administrative rules governing relations between Taiwan and the mainland, the Cross-Strait People's Relations Act, or Liang an Renmin Guanxi Taoli.
Which part of that act? And what does it say?
Specifically, you look at Article 33-1, it basically prohibits Taiwanese citizens from cooperating with CCP agencies in ways that harm Taiwan's national security or interests. And that includes participating in things like United Front propaganda campaigns.
Okay. So participating in that 2025 mass reposting event, which was clearly directed by state media, that seems like it could fit under cooperating with CCP agencies to undermine national interest by promoting Beijing's view of sovereignty.
It certainly looks that way. And indeed, after that whole blow-up, Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council, the Luihui, they confirmed they opened investigations into more than 20 of the artists involved. But here's the twist.
What's the twist?
Despite the public fury and what looks like a potential violation, the government's official stance, voiced by folks like Deputy Minister Liang Wenqi and the Culture Ministry, wasn't immediate prosecution or big fines. They opted for something called administrative caution. Xing zhanggaoji.
Administrative caution. That sounds pretty mild, like a formal warning. That must have really angered people who wanted consequences.
Oh, for sure. It looks like a soft touch. But there's likely some very careful strategic thinking behind that restraint. It's not just about being lenient.
Okay, so why hold back if they seemingly have the legal grounds? What's the strategy?
It seems to be a calculated geopolitical move, balancing domestic anger with cross-strait stability. Two main reasons, potentially. First, paradoxically, the investigation and caution might actually help the artists.
Help them? Help.
By giving them a shield. Think about it. Now, when Beijing or his agents pressure them again, hey, repost this new slogan, make another statement, the artist can genuinely say, I can't. I'm already under investigation by my government in Taiwan. If I do this, I face real legal trouble back home.
So the investigation itself becomes a legitimate excuse for them to refuse Beijing's demands. It gives them leverage without Taiwan actually having to punish them harshly. That's subtle.
Very subtle statecraft, right? It shifts the pressure back onto Beijing without burning bridges. The second reason for caution is probably avoiding massive escalation. Imagine if Taiwan went full throttle, prosecuting 70 major celebrities. What would Beijing do?
Retaliate.
You bet. Economic punishment, targeting Taiwanese businesses or cultural products, maybe travel restrictions, and definitely a huge international propaganda counterattack. They'd scream, political persecution, accuse Taiwan of suppressing free speech, trying to paint Taiwan as the authoritarian one.
They'd flip the script entirely, make Taiwan look bad on the world stage.
Exactly. It could be a huge own goal for Taiwan internationally. So, by using administrative caution, Taipei manages the situation. They acknowledge the public anger, they create that shield for the artists, but they avoid triggering immediate damaging retaliation from Beijing. It prioritizes the long-term strategic game over short-term satisfaction.
That makes a lot of sense, even if it's frustrating for people on the ground. It explains the cautious pace. But even without prosecutions, that public anger is real, and it stems from this feeling that Taiwan's very right to exist is being chipped away.
Absolutely. The public reaction makes perfect sense if you see it as defending sovereignty. For many Taiwanese, this isn't about whether an artist likes China or not. It's about actions that actively help Beijing's project to absorb Taiwan. They see it as contributing to the erasure of national sovereignty, 消灭国家主权.
Because every time a famous Taiwanese face echoes the Taiwan province of China line, Beijing uses it as proof. Proof that the idea is accepted, even within Taiwan.
Precisely. It becomes ammunition in their international narrative. Global news reports can point to these celebrity endorsements. It weakens Taiwan's image, sows confusion internationally, and, maybe most importantly, erodes social cohesion inside Taiwan. That's why the backlash is so fierce, why people demand they roll out of Taiwan forever. They're seen as actively damaging the nation's defenses. The term "mai guozhe," country seller, gets thrown around.
That's about as harsh as it gets. It frames it as the ultimate moral failing trading democratic values for cash.
And this intense moral judgment pushed the Taiwanese government towards a kind of two-pronged response. You had the soft approach, appealing to emotion and identity, and then a much harder line, focused on closing legal loopholes.
Okay, let's look at the soft approach first.
Yeah.
That open letter from the culture minister, Li Yuan, really stood out.
It did. It was titled something like, "A Letter to Taiwanese Artists, We Are Taiwan." And it very deliberately steered clear of threats. It was all warmth, emotion, reminding them where they came from, the freedoms they enjoyed, the culture that supported them. The message was essentially, remember your roots. Taiwan is home. We understand the pressure, but we value you.
And President Lai Ching-te kind of echoed that sentiment, right? Asking artists simply to cherish the democratic life that raised them. It's an appeal to shared values, trying to build bridges rather than walls.
But alongside that softer touch, there was a significant tightening of the rules. This was aimed squarely at stopping people from playing games with citizenship specifically, those who might have taken up PRC citizenship for career reasons and then want to switch back to Taiwan when it suits them.
Right, trying to prevent people from having their cake and eating it too.
Yeah.
What are the new rules for getting Taiwanese status back if you previously gave it up for PRC citizenship?
They've made it much, much tougher. You can think of it as the 3 C's. First, clear renunciation. You have to publicly, verifiably renounce your Chinese identity. Media statements, official channels, just saying it privately.
Okay.
Second, clean record. This is a big one. You need a 5-year clean slate before you apply absolutely no participation in CCP propaganda or United Front activities during that time.
5 years, that's significant.
It is. And third, comprehensive documentation. You need to provide full proof that you've actually cut ties in the PRC, like showing your household registration there has been deleted.
Wow. That 5-year clean record rule plus the public renunciation.
Yeah.
That basically slams the door shut on opportunistically switching back and forth, doesn't it?
Completely. It sends a clear message. Taiwanese citizenship isn't a flag of convenience. Deputy Minister Liang Wenxie explicitly called it a shift from lenient to strict. They're saying this identity, this citizenship, has real value and carries responsibilities. You can't just drop it for money and expect to pick it back up easily later.
That draws a very clear line in the sand. Okay, so that's the external pressure front. Now, let's pivot because there's this parallel issue happening internally in Taiwan, which also tests democratic boundaries, but in a different way. Controversy around that influencer, Kuana.
Yeah, this is a really important comparison because it shows Taiwan fighting battles on 2 fronts simultaneously. With the artists, you have the external threat using economic leverage for essentially cultural assimilation.
Right. And with the Kuana situation, where he allegedly threatened to behead President Lai Ching-te, you have an internal threat using extreme violent rhetoric that risks political disintegration.
Both scenarios, though driven by different things, one maybe by economics, the other by ideological fury, push right up against the limits of Taiwan's democratic framework.
Yeah.
Okay, so in a healthy democracy, criticism of leaders, even really harsh criticism, is generally protected speech. Where does it cross the line? What made the Kuana comment different?
The line gets crossed when speech moves from criticism, however angry, into a direct incitement or threat of violence. Especially violence against the head of state. Free speech isn't limitless, right? It doesn't cover yelling fire in a crowded theater, and it generally doesn't cover direct threats to kill the leader of the country.
Because threatening the president isn't just threatening a person, it's threatening the office, the stability of the state itself, particularly given Taiwan's situation.
Precisely. And the threat, reportedly made during a live broadcast, was taken seriously enough that prosecutors and police launched an investigation almost immediately. The premier at the time, Cho Jung-tai, emphasized this wasn't optional, it was legally necessary to maintain order.
Why was letting it slide considered so dangerous? Even if some might argue it was just over-the-top talk.
The premier's point was that if you allow influential figures to publicly call for the violent death of the head of state without consequence, you risk creating a lawless state, man-ufaji, a situation where such threats become normalized.
And that kind of environment could be exploited.
Easily, especially by external actors like Beijing, which itself has made noise about decapitation strikes against Taiwan's leadership. Allowing that kind of internal rhetoric to fester unchecked creates vulnerabilities. It normalizes the idea of violence against the state.
So the legal action wasn't about shutting down criticism, but about reinforcing that threats of violence are outside the bounds of acceptable democratic discourse, protecting the system itself.
It's about accountability. The individual involved apparently tried to walk it back, claim it was taken out of context, but the recording existed. It underscored a basic principle in a democracy, especially if you have a public platform. You are responsible for your words and their potential impact. Freedom comes with responsibility.
It's really striking to see Taiwan navigating these twin pressures, the economic lure from outside trying to co-opt its culture, and this kind of incendiary rhetoric from within testing its legal limits. It really highlights the challenges.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look ahead. What are the potential long-term solutions? How can Taiwan counter this structural dependence?
Well, the core problem isn't going away, right?
Yeah.
Taiwan's market is just never going to have the same financial firepower as China's. So the goal can't be to outspend Beijing. It has to be about reducing the need to rely on that market and building up alternatives.
Makes sense. So number one priority, where should the effort go first?
First and foremost, they absolutely have to invest in the local industry. Seriously ramp up funding for Taiwanese culture. We're talking bigger film subsidies, budgets for high-quality TV dramas that can compete visually and narratively, grants for writers, directors, musicians.
The idea being?
The idea is to create genuinely attractive, high-quality opportunities at home. Make it so that top talent doesn't feel like they have to go to the mainland just to do ambitious work or make a good living. Build an ecosystem that can support and retain its stars.
Create a strong enough gravitational pull within Taiwan itself.
Ah.
Okay, what's the second big strategy?
Diversify markets. Look at what South Korea did with the Hallyu wave. They face similar pressures, a relatively small domestic market overshadowed by giants. But starting back in the 90s, early 2000s, their government made a conscious, long-term strategic investment.
How did the K-pop K-drama model work? Specifically, how could Taiwan adapt that?
It was a whole package. Government support wasn't just production money. It was tax breaks for international projects, funds to help market Korean content overseas, especially in places like Southeast Asia initially, building partnerships with the global platforms. Taiwan needs a similar pivot. Deliberately look beyond the mainland. Target Southeast Asia, Japan, Europe, North America. Build a unique, global Taiwanese cultural brand that isn't dependent on Beijing's approval.
So, turn the small market size into an advantage by focusing outwards, globally. Become a distinct cultural exporter. Makes sense. And the third piece, that's about the audience, the public themselves.
Yeah, civic education and media literacy. This is crucial, especially for younger people. There needs to be a real effort to educate the public on how propaganda works today, how to spot it, even when it's hidden in a slick travel vlog or a fun reality show.
Understanding the money trail. Like, if a YouTuber suddenly has amazing production values touring China, ask questions.
Exactly. Understand that those beautiful Xinjiang videos aren't just tourism ads. They might be part of that coordinated Dawai strategy funded by United Front departments. Knowing that 156 official state accounts might be boosting a particular influencer's video, that context changes everything. It's not organic popularity, it's state-directed amplification.
So equipping people to see behind the curtain, to understand the geopolitical game being played through culture.
Right, because being aware of how soft power works, how emotional appeals are used to shift narratives, that awareness is the best defense against manipulation.
When you pull all these threads together, the legal tightrope, the economic gulf, the moral outrage, the potential solutions, it really paints a picture of a defining struggle for modern Taiwan.
It absolutely is. At its heart, it's this constant draining tension between an individual's economic needs and aspirations and the collective need to protect a shared identity and a democratic way of life. And honestly, this isn't unique to Taiwan. Lots of smaller democracies next door to large, assertive authoritarian states face variations of this problem. Taiwan is just on the front lines, constantly having to draw and redraw the boundaries of its democracy, defending itself not just militarily, but culturally, legally, and educationally.
This has been a really fascinating, really deep look into how something that seems like celebrity gossip is actually tied into huge issues of national security and identity.
It really cuts deep. Which brings us to maybe a final thought for you, our listeners, to chew on. We've talked about the pressures, the strategies, the reactions, but the fundamental question lingers, doesn't it? Where do you draw the line? When does an individual's right to chase economic success, maybe immense success, bump up against their responsibility, their public duty to the democratic society that nurtured them?
That's the core dilemma, isn't it? A tough question with no easy answers. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this Sip and Talk discussion. If you found this interesting, learned something new, please do subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
And hey, also check out our old friend Micky's YouTube channel, Micky to Life. He's got fun stuff, memes, music, wine tasting, travel vlogs. Good times over there.
Definitely check Micky out. All right, thanks everyone. We'll catch you on the next one.
See you then.